Hello chess lovers, Suren here, and I have another mind-blowing game for you from 2018 Sinquefield Cup, with the white piece is playing Levon Aronian and his opponent is Alexander Grischuk. This game was played in round 9 and Aronian started the game with d4, knight f6 by Grischuk, knight f3, d6, g3, Aronian is flanking his bishop, bishop g2, e5, c4, c6, Grischuk goes for old Indian defense type setup, knight c3. Here the main move is bishop e7, but in the game Grischuk went for e4, knight h4. White is already putting too much pressure on e4 square, that's why d5 was played, white castles kingside, bishop b4. Grischuk wants to get rid of this knight on c3 square because at any moment the queen could jump on b3 square, putting pressure on d5. C takes d5 was played, c takes d5 and f3. Aronian is challenging black's pawn center. We see bishop takes c3, b takes c3, black castles kingside, bishop a3. Aronian is bringing his bishop on this active diagonal, rook e8. Now comes knight f5, knight b6, knight d6. With two jumps, the knight from this passive h4 square reached d6. Right now the rook on e8 square is hanging, but Grischuk came up with a very interesting decision and he played knight c4. He's going for an exchange sacrifice, but Aronian didn't capture on e8, instead played knight takes c4. Well, if knight takes e8, then queen takes e8. Right now the bishop is hanging. If bishop c1, then e3. And actually black has a compensation for sacrificed rook, and white can face some problems. That's why after knight c4, knight takes c4 was played. D takes c4, f takes e4, knight takes e4, queen c2, the knight is under attack, queen d5, and in this position Aronian went for a mind-blowing sacrifice. Believe it or not, but he captured on f7. This is insane, guys. Look at this rook sacrifice. Grischuk was low on time and Aronian decided to try his luck and have some fun. King takes f7. Well, if queen takes f7, then the queen is no longer protecting the knight and simply bishop takes e4. If queen h5, then rook f1, and white has a compensation for the sacrificed rook. That's why after rook takes f7, Grischuk captured with the king, and right now he's simply a rook up. But now let's see where is white's compensation. Now comes rook f1 check, bishop f5. Well, if we move like king g8, then simply bishop takes e4. And it turns out that white bishop is untouchable because black has a back rank weakness and can get checkmated. That's why after rook f1 check we see bishop f5. But this is actually stepping into a deadly pin, and now comes g4, g6, but Aronian is not hurrying to win this bishop. He played queen c1. The queen is trying to penetrate black's camp. King g7, Grischuk is both unpinning the bishop and also is not allowing any possible queen intrusions. But according to the engine, this is not the best move, and instead of king g7 it was better to play rook e6. The idea is that after g takes f5, g takes f5, the h6 square is controlled by the rook, and if queen h6, then king g8, and actually black is managing to hold. Let's go back, but after queen c1 we see king g7. Now comes g takes f5, g takes f5, bishop takes e4. Aronian is also removing this powerful knight from e4 square, f takes e4, in order to keep under control the g5 square, not allow queen g5 check, queen f4 and h6. A very important move. Instead of playing h6, just a random move, if you play a6, then white can play queen f6 and then rook f2, and this is going to be catastrophic for black. That's why after queen f4, h6 was played. Now comes queen c7 check, king h8, bishop d6. The bishop, which was actually very active on a3 f8 diagonal, this time is coming to attack black king from e5 square. Rook g8 check and king f2. Of course, bringing the king on h1 square can be very dangerous. That's why king f2 was played. Rook g6, bishop e5 check, king g8 and king e3. Look at this white king in the center of the board. and with his last move Aronian is opening up the rook's path. So far so good. Right now, according to the engine, the position is equal, but in this position Grischuk made a mistake and played Rook d8. Well, instead of playing Rook d8, it was better to play Rook e8 and take under control the e file, not allow any possible Queen e7 moves. But instead Rook d8 was played, and it turns out that after Queen e7, Black's position is collapsing. Now comes b5. Grischuk is trying to create some counterplay on the queen side. By the way, if a move like Queen d7 trying to simplify the position, then Rook f8 is winning on the spot, and then Queen takes d7. In the game we see b5, but now comes h4. Actually, this Rook on g6 square is playing a very important role, is protecting Black king, and now Aronian simply wants to lure away the Black Rook and intrude inside Black's camp. a5, now comes h5, Rook g5. Grischuk is still keeping his Rook on g file in order not to allow any Queen g7 checkmate, but the Black Rook is no longer covering the 6th rank, and now White Rook is coming. Rook f6. Right now the threat is Rook takes h6 followed by Rook h8 checkmate. Rook takes e5, a desperate move. Grischuk is removing this powerful bishop, but after Rook g6 check he resigned. If King h8, then Queen g7 checkmate. A very fascinating attack by Levon Aronian. Of course, nowadays you won't see such insane Rook sacrifices, and I have such an impression that this game was actually from the romantic era of chess. Thanks for watching. Here are more suggestions for you. For more games, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video.